This prayer was composed in the end of the 11th century after the First Crusade, and those communities that were killed around the Rhine River, the communities were in mourning afterwards, and they composed this. This was composed, and this was entered into the Sidurim. Now they used to recite it not every Shabbos; they recited it during the Omer period because that was when most of the killings happened. But the Piskei Tshuva says that over time, because there were so many pogroms that happened to the Jewish people, they just kept saying it, and they said it every Shabbat. And so now we say it every Shabbat. So here's the context. We'll read it together in English, and then I'll just tell you there's two parts to it. The first part speaks of compassion, that God, in His abundant mercy, have mercy on those who have passed. And then it speaks about many verses speaking about vengeance. So let's go over that. Page 528, Father of compassion, which dwells on high, may you remember in His compassion the pious, the upright, and the blameless, holy communities, pleasant, who sacrificed their lives for the sanctification of God's name. Lovely and pleasant in their lives, in death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles and stronger than lions through the will of their Maker and the desire of their Creator. Okay, and then we say, oh, our God, remember them for good with other righteous of the world. So that's so far, remember them for good, recognize all the good that they did. And then it says, may exact retribution for the shed blood of His servants. Language in Hebrew is, V'inkom leinenu nikmat dam avadav hashafuch. May God exact retribution. And in earlier texts, he used to say, in our days. They took that out, that was censored out. But it actually said that. And that this is kind of switching the discussion from like remembering to that God should seek their retribution. The continuation is just basically verses that speak to that theme. So basically, it's an expression of our mourning over those who've lost, want God to remember them. Then it's an expression of a feeling of a need for justice or vengeance. And so that can go two different ways. We usually say you're not supposed to, like on a day-to-day basis, to try not to take revenge against people. But we're speaking about an inner feeling that we have inside of us that we want justice to be implemented, and we're praying that Hashem do it. It's a kind of expression of our feeling. We're praying that Hashem will do it. How Hashem will do it? Hashem could do it through our army. Hashem could do it in multiple ways. We want to make space for that feeling. We also want to recognize that Hashem appears not just in kindness, but also in justice. That's a trait of Hashem. Hashem appears in justice as well. Another thing I want to just mention, there's a verse in here, which I mentioned on Shabbat, which is taken from Samuel. And the verse is like the third line down, lovely and pleasant in their lives, in death they were not parted. And then it goes on, they were swifter than eagles and stronger than lions. That's a verse from Samuel. And it says, it's talking about Saul and Jonathan, that they went to war and they loved each other in their lives and they died together at war. And so we mention it in relation to these individuals because they died together in these horrible pogroms. But perhaps there's another lesson here, another deep message for us in our days as well. And we're thinking about those who have died in Israel at the hands of our enemies. The Rabdak says that they didn't part. It says v'motam lo nifradu. They didn't separate. They didn't part in their death. So the Rabdak says it doesn't mean that they didn't part. Saul and Jonathan didn't part. Rather, they didn't part. Each of them, they were leaders of their generation, and they didn't part from the nation in their death. Meaning, they went out to war knowing that they might die. There's a good chance they die. They still stayed with the nation, and they went to their